Welcome back again, guys. So in this video we're going to start working on our if statements, which is a critical part of programming because it allows you to control data. So we've worked on our echo statements, we've worked on our variables, we've worked on our operators, and let's just note this as operators, and we are going to now do some sample if statements. I wonder if we could do that here. So let's do a sample month. Why not? So let's say if statements. So let's say that if the day function, because we did this, so let's say we have a day of January 30th. Let's go with January 30th as our user input day. 31st. And so that would mean that the day is 31st, the month is January, and the year is 2016. So we're going to add one today, and then over here we're going to validate, and so what we're going to do, we're going to say that if, this is how we write our if statements. This is very exciting stuff here. So we're going to say if the day is greater than 31, then we do these things that are inside these curly brackets. And else, which means that if it's not greater than 31, we do these things that are inside these curly brackets. So we know that for this particular example, if the date is greater than 31, we are going to, what are we going to do? We're going to set new date we're going to set new date day back equal to 1 because the day is going to reset, and we're going to set new date month, the month variable of the new date is going to equal to new date month plus 1. Okay. Because if we're at January 31st and we added 1 to the date, then if the date is greater than January 31st, then the day should be set back to month and to 1, and the month should increase by 1. If that is not the case, then all you would have to do is take the new date. So this would be the new date day. Do nothing. If it's not greater than that, then you do nothing. So let's try that, because this is gonna do this validation process. So right now we know that we're inputting January 31st, and we're hoping that if the day goes above January 31st, it should show us a new month, the new date. When it comes down, when we finish doing our processing over here, this new date should now be, what we're looking for at least, is to be February 1st. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to run this code. New date is January 32. Why is that? Okay, I did that on purpose, because what we did here is we said that if day is greater than 31, but day has not changed, day up here is still the same. What we want to evaluate is this date, the new day. So if the new day is greater than 31, then we're going to add 1 to new day, and we're going to add 1 to new day month. New day month equal new day plus 1. So let's go ahead and run this code. So where's my link? Here it is. Run. So this was the original date, January 31st, and this is the new date, February 1st, 2016. So that actually worked. You could have nested if statements as well. So let's go back to our code space. So let's go back to our code space and let's do December 31st. So now our user input is December 31st. That's the month is 12, the day is 31st, the year is 2016. So we could say if the new date, then month equals 1. Month equal month plus 1. You could also have a nested if statement if you choose to say that if new date month. Actually, before I do the nested if statement, I want to show you guys something else real quick. There is a shortcut that you could use for incrementing variables, integer variables by 1, which is simply, instead of saying new date equal new date plus 1, you could just say new date plus plus, and that automatically increases it by 1. So let's see if that does the same thing. And you could do it here as well. So date, instead of saying date equal date plus 1, you just say day plus plus, and that also increases it. Okay. Oh, see, December 32. All right. So we could use that. So the user input date is now December 12th. We're going to do day plus plus equal new date, and day plus plus actually increases the value of day. What this does, it increases the value of day and then adds it to this. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the reason why, let's go back to, let's run it. The reason why the user input has changed here is because when you do d plus plus, it automatically increases the value of d by itself. It's almost as if you're saying d equals d plus 1. Maybe that's confusing. Maybe I should put that in its own lesson for a while. I'm not sure if that, because what we want to do is do this. So it's better off if you do this, add d. So this, let's clear this up a bit. So what we want to do is to duplicate the date, duplicate date. So the day is saved, the month is saved, and the year is saved exactly as they were, and then you add 1 day. So you go here and let's add 1 day. And when you start adding this 1 day, you could do it like this: new date plus plus, new date d, sorry, and that's it. And that's how you add 1 day, and that would increase whatever value this is by 1, and then save it in that value. So let's run this. So you see, the new date is still the day that it was. It didn't change, but the value of the original date stays the same, but the value of new date did increase. Okay, that's what I wanted to, that's the point I wanted to make. Maybe I'll put that in the operators of here, that you do have a plus plus, and it's also good for minus minus. So you could have n plus plus, you could have which increases the value of n and then saves it in n, or you could have plus plus n, which saves n as the original and then adds the number. So then the same thing could be n minus minus, which, as you might have guessed, will subtract about 1 from n, and then you have minus minus n as well that you could use. And you could come back to this code thing and you could play with those values. Just wanted to mention that as we go along, because you know, we just pick up little tools as we program. So here we go. Where were we? So right, so now we're at December 31st. We've duplicated the date, we've added 1 to the day, add 1 to the day, and now we're going to validate. So we're going to validate the day and say if the day is greater than 31, we're going to reset the day and we're going to reset the month. Actually, we're going to increase the month by 1. So we're going to do the shortcut for month, which increases the month by 1. So I'm just going to put these comments in. So this way, because I know that's a new thing, so I'll comment those out, so this way once you go over the video yourself, you'll be able to see and remember what's being done. So now we go right into our secondary if statement. So if the new date is greater than 31, we're going to reset the day, and we're also going to reset the month, increase the month by 1. Then we have to do a secondary if statement that says if the month, if new date month is now greater than 12, the month just happened to increase greater than 12, then we now have to think about doing something else. So we also have to now reset the month, right? Stay with me here. We just did this. So reset the month to 1, and now we're going to increase the year. And you guessed it, how do we increase the year variable? We go year plus plus, and that's it. Increase the year by 1. So let's run this. Let's code this out. This the why you go, so you reset new month. This is so you reset the month to 1, and over here we were resetting the days. So let's just scroll through this again. The user has inputted December 31st, 2016. We take the user input and we've stored it, December, day, month, year. We've taken the day, month, year, and we've duplicated it. The reason why we've duplicated it is because we want to keep the original values the same, and the values that we manipulate are going to be the new date values. So we added 1 to the new date using the shortcut, increases the day value by 1. Then we would check the date. It says if the day is greater than 31, we know, for example, this is not true for all months. These are only true for months with the value 31. Then we reset the days, new date. increasing the do you reset the date and then you increase the month, because you know after the 31st it goes into the new month. But if the new month happens to be greater than 12, then you have to reset the month and increase the year, because you're going into January of the next year. All right, so let's just run that and see where we stand with that. Run F9, and again the user has inputted December 31st 2016. The new date is now January 1st 2017, and the reason that is because we have used our operators, we've used some if statements, and we've used nested if statements if possible. This if statement does not have to be nested, by the way. It could, let me cut this out. You could validate for, let's do this, validate for month end. As one, because what we're doing is trying to find the end of the month and then increases it where necessary. And then you could have a second part that validates for year end. And this is where you would put this if statement. Validate for year. And this would also work just fine. Let's try running that. See, works just fine. Inputs January 31st, and that's that. So it's really up to you as the coder, as the programmer, to decide what you're comfortable with and how you like things to flow. Me personally, I like having stuff readable, and that's the most important to me, readable. So I'm gonna leave this like this for now. I think we could also, there's a save option up here where you could save all the stuff, or save as right here. So I'm gonna see if I could save it or export it and email this to you guys. And I think that's all you would basically need to learn to start writing the date program on your own. I mean, we've done a couple of them already. Just don't forget your semicolons. That's very important. You always have to have a semicolon on the end of your statement. The if statement is basically an if followed by a proposition, which is either true or false, using an operator. You could do greater than or equal to, like that. Okay, let me put those in there in the operator section. So now you could have greater than or less than, or greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. And you have this one, which means not. So the not statement could also mean not equal to, which means not equal to. So for example, if new date is greater than 12, okay, fine. If new date is greater than 12, that's cool. So another way to say if new date is greater than 12, or you could say greater than or equal to 13. You could say greater than 12, or you could say greater than or equal to 13, which is also greater than 12, which will also work just fine. Let's just see that, just so you know. So let's run this and show you that the code comes out exactly the same. So you could choose your operators that you want to use. You could choose your if statements, your else, This is an else statement. We haven't used the else statement yet, but basically what this says is, if this is not true, then do this. It's like a then. So you can have if or else. Then these you could continue these forever. So you could say else if this equals this, then do that. Then you could have another one here. So it would do this one first, then it would check. So you could say, for example, if month equal January, and then you go, okay, else if month equal February, else if months equal March, if month equal June, and then you could go through all these if statements and you could run them on your own. But the thing about if statements is, once it finds something that is true, for example, if this part of it, if month equal December, and this part is true, then it skips all the other if statements that's in the sequence, because basically only one of these should be true. So if this, then do this, or check this, or check this. But if this is true, then you could ignore this and this. Okay? If you want this and this to run, then you would make a separate if statements and not connect them together. Okay? Let me just delete this. Okay, so far this is our program. We validate for month, we validate for year, and then we display user inputs. For the old date, let's comment this. Let's make a comment over here before I save it. Original date. And over here we're going to make another comment for new date. Alright, so I think that's pretty good for the lesson. This one probably went a little long. I wasn't timing this one, but I think we've completed everything else. So what I want you guys to start doing is to start coding the date function. I want you to look at the steps that you wrote down in English, and then I want you to one by one along those steps translate it into code. And you could use phpfiddle.org. I don't know if you could see that properly, so let me just type it in here as phpfiddle.org is the website. phpfiddle.org. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna send this to you guys in an email. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video.